Media's Mining Weekly Online is covering the vexing issue of lung disease, which has plagued the mining industry for more than 100 years. This conference believes it has arrived at a silver bullet which can come as close as possible to eradicating lung disease on mines.
The objective of the practice that we have before us today is to move from a reactive to a more proactive system that will enable the industry to become predictive and to allow for preventative maintenance programs far more efficiently than in years gone by. This will also broaden the conventional approach, which, as many of you in the room will know, comprises largely of personal and air sampling. It will allow for immediate intervention when undesirable concentrations of dust are evident from the continuous real-time monitoring system. The strategic context of this work is one of continuous improvement towards zero harm from silica dust and other airborne pollutants, to which all of the chief executive officers in South Africa and the South African mining industry have duly committed.
This is the most exciting day in the event of the industry in terms of certainly limiting the exposure of individuals in underground mining conditions, not necessarily underground mining conditions. We've seen an extreme benefit for surface operations, for plant operations. In fact, the entire industry can benefit from this particular practice.
Well, I think the leading practice that we're talking about is possibly the closest thing to a silver bullet we're going to have ever.
In News 24, this is the latest now from Mr. Richard Spoor. Spoor is of the view that there has been no accountability for the last 100 years. Workers' lives and their health have been really very cheap. Spoor said doing any work in coal mines is extremely dangerous and that the only way to make it safe is by limiting workers' exposure to dust.
This leading practice, the technical part of it, will allow us to intervene at critical points in a person's workday. Like when you have a spike of dust, it means there's something wrong. The system will alarm, and we can have somebody go and look what is wrong. Ultimately, this will bring, and we've seen it over time, this will bring the exposure levels of people well below the occupational exposure level, well below it. We're talking about occupation exposure level of, say, 2. This system brings it down to below 0.5.
We went to Newville to see this practice, and they already showed us how the community around them benefited from this in terms of the nuisance of the dust that was coming from this process.
And if the control room says this level is too high, what happens then?
Well, this is what the practice is all about, is to intervene immediately, and not a delayed intervention, is to immediately intervene to ensure that people are not overexposed. This is the bottom line of the practice, is that we can withdraw people from a risk situation almost immediately.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online, dealing with the conference that believes it has the silver bullet, or comes as close as possible to the silver bullet, to eradicating lung disease, which has been a curse of the mining industry.